Hello everyone, it's Matt here, and today we're going to be doing a review of I See You by the XX. So here I have I See You on vinyl. It's got a nice reflective cardboard album cover and everything. On the MP3 version, of course, it's all blue, and I thought that's how the record was. And it's actually got the reflections of the three members of the XX in it, which I thought was pretty cool. It's a 10-track album, ranging from the album opener, Dangerous, to the emotive and calm closer, Test Me. So, let's start a review then. The XX were formed in 2005 and released a debut LP, they're self-titled The XX, in 2009. They consist of three members, so on lead vocals for the female and lead guitar we have Romy Madley Croft. On bass and male lead vocals we have Oliver Sim. And the person who ties it all together, the glue of the XX, is of course Jamie XX, who is very prolific in his output as a DJ and a producer and everything. He's done loads of remixes of specifically Radiohead songs, which I really liked. He's done a fantastic Boiler Room set that I really enjoyed. And of course, the jewel in his own solo crown is of course In Colour, which was released in 2015 and is a fantastic album. I'll have to review that at some point. But of course, we're not talking about just him today, it's the XX as a band. So let's go have a look at the sleeve and the inner contents of the vinyl. So you get a nice little booklet and everything. I thought that was pretty cool. And on the inside you've got all this reflective stuff, which is supposed to say something when you reflect it in the mirror. You can't read it on its own. I need to figure out what that says. I'll let you find that out if you get it on vinyl. And then of course you got the record itself, just in the basic sleeve. So that's pretty cool. So some key points about the album. First thing is that it's less quiet than their debut album and their second album, Coexist, which was released in 2012. And it's also more prolific in its use of technology. Of course, Jamie XX had always used beats before that would be played using an MPC, an Akai sampler. But on this album, he's really gone out in terms of actually using samples. The biggest example of this is off the lead single, On Hold, where you have a sample from a Hall & Oates song, which is creatively used and reworked into the so-called chorus of the song. And I really think this is an area that they should do more of. They should explore more. I think the fact that when the XX first started out, they wanted to just play stuff that they could only play live. And whilst that's a great idea, I think using samples and more electronic techniques, you can explore so much with that. It's still stylistically the XX though, definitely. You can hear it in the vocals of Romy and Oliver. You can hear it in the fact that you've still got very minimalistic guitar and bass parts in spite of all this use of technology. And there are some songs like Violent Noise, the fourth track, which use silence throughout bits of it. And that really emphasises the emotions, the feelings behind this album, which I really like. So, we're going to talk about some pros and cons of the album. First, the advantages, pros. I think the first point mainly is that it is an album full of good, enjoyable songs that I have really got into. There's some cracking songs on this album. You start off with the album opener, Dangerous. You have this sort of trumpety kind of sample come in. I'm not sure if that was actually trumpet or whether it's just a synth sound or something like that. That sounds fantastic. And I really like the percussion behind it. As well, the lead vocal interplay, which is characteristic of the XX, is fantastic on this song, and goes out to be one of the strengths of the album again throughout its track list. The second song, Say Something Loving, with yet another sample at the start of it. I'm not sure what this one's from, but it's really good and it works really well with the song. The way it sort of comes in almost like a broken record, that works really well. Then you have Lips, and that's an interesting song, quite sexual, quite romantic, that kind of thing. Another sample used, a choral kind of sample, and that's really nice. I like that. And as I said, the lead single, On Hold, I really love that song. That's fantastic. So when I first heard that back in November, I thought, right, okay, yeah, we're onto something here. As I said, the inventive use of samples, very good. Helps the album a lot and helps it stand out really from the rest of the XX's discography. I felt that Coexist, their second album, was even quieter than their third, and I felt like, as good as that was on the debut, I felt like they couldn't really keep going with that any longer, and I'm glad that they made that change, and I think it really works. I think the other point that I'm going to mention in the pro section is Romy Madley Croft's vocals. I think they've improved so much, and I feel here it's a lot more melodic, and it really works. The highlight of Romy's vocals is the fifth track on the album, which is called Performance, and it is a fantastic song, really quiet, but her vocals make the piece, make the song. It's that's definitely a massive pro for me in this album. There are a few cons as well. It's not a perfect album. I feel like it drags a bit in a few places. Towards the end of the album, I definitely think the first side of the record is better than the second. The first 5 songs I really enjoyed, but by the time we got to sort of Replica, the 6th track, I did feel it started to drag a little bit, in spite of the fact it was only 10 tracks long. The song I Dare You, the 9th track, just uses the same sort of chord progression throughout, and I felt that went on a little bit. So maybe there are a couple of songs that I felt like they could have gone with in a different way. And yet, on the other hand, it did feel like it was a little bit short. The fact it was only 10 tracks as opposed to the first one being 11 and everything. And maybe there could have been more that they could have done with this whole electronic sampling kind of thing. And I suppose this just leaves room for improvement, doesn't it? The next album can explore that even more. But I think that they've covered new ground here, and and it's really worked for them. I think if they keep doing that, if they kept going in that direction, I'd be even more intrigued to see what they come out with next. So overall, I would give this album a solid 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I'm hooked on it at the moment. It was released last month, and I still haven't stopped listening to it. It's a brilliant album. I think they could have done more with the electronic side to it, the sampling, and there are a couple of tracks that perhaps could have been improved. But on the whole, I think it's a fantastic album, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this video. Obviously, you might not agree with me on some things there. If you don't, put them in the comments, start up a discussion. I mean, not like one of those big YouTube rants or whatever. And if you have any suggestions for what you might want me to review next, put them down there too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next episode.